To work in the round, we need to work with circular needles. Circular needles are needles that are joined at the bottom with this wiring, and it's good for working with hats, socks, sweaters, anything that needs to be worked in a circle. When you are working with your circular needles, you need to cast on, and you need to cast on one extra stitch when you're joining in the round. For example, if your pattern says that you need 80 stitches to complete the pattern, you're going to cast on 81. The reason for this is because we're going to be dropping a stitch later on when we're joining in the round. Before we can begin joining these two stitches, we need to make sure that all of our stitches when working in the round are facing the same way and none are twisted. So I want to make sure none are twisted. Like this one here is twisted, so I'm just going to push it back forward there so that we are working all in the same direction and nothing gets twisted later on, because if we're working with twisted stitches, then it's going to come out twisted and we would have to restart when we start discovering that. So it's really good to just make sure that you begin with all the same side before you get to that problem. So to join in the round, we're going to be working as if we're starting a purl stitch, but we're not going to be too concerned with the back of the working yarn. We're just going to go into the top of the left stitch on the left knitting needles with our right knitting needle. So like we are working a purl stitch, but we're not going to do anything with the working yarn. We're just going to pull that stitch off the left needle. So now it's on our right needle. So our tail and our working yarn are both on the right side. To join in the yarn completely, we need to make sure this is secure. And we need to do that by skipping that stitch we just slid on to the right side of the needle and working into the second stitch on the right side. So we're going to go in as if we are working a purl. We're going to take our needle and we're going to go in through the top, and we're going to slide over that first stitch. I'm going to use my thumb to pull that first stitch down and get it out of the way. We're going to slide that second stitch off. It's still on my left needle. I'm going to slip it off and I'm going to drop it. That is dropping the stitch. Now I'm going to take my working yarn and my tail, and I'm going to pull nice and tight just to tighten that up, because that is our drop stitch and we want to keep it in the round. Okay, and that is working in the round or joining in the round. Now you can just move on as you would with a normal pattern. You can add a marker here if you want to remember that is where your starting point is, but I usually just remember because of this little tail that's left over, so I don't always add a marker. But if you find it helpful, you can get markers, you can use an earring, whatever you find useful. And then from that point, you can just start your knitting. And that is joining and working in the round.